Hi, welcome to the Mohua show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी से. Hi, in today's episode we have Varsha. So Varsha runs her own company, Tat Tvam Asi, and through this it helps many people in enhancing personal energies and assisting them in achieving their highest potential through workshops, sessions and training programs. Varsha's foray in the field of energy work started in the year 2000. She is a trained Reiki master, pranic healer and clinical hypnotherapist. Wow. She has also completed courses in handwriting analysis, NLP, and crystal healing. For the last 2 years, Varsha has been heading the FICCI FLO Wellness wing of Bangalore, and we all know that how important wellness has become as we keep going ahead. So, Varsha started her career as a trained English teacher. We need to find out a little bit more from her as to what got her into healing. She is now the chief administrator of Narmada Devi Memorial School in Hospet. She has spearheaded various development projects in the town of Hospet and its surrounding villages. She loves to work with children and is in the process of creating a meditation curriculum based on the ancient knowledge of the Guru Mandala. Welcome, Varsha, in today's episode.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mama.
You know, very few of us realize when we are very young that we need to really tap into our spiritual, energies. It's only over time that one starts recognizing that there is a certain energy inside us that's not seen or heard, but yet that energy is what helps us navigate through difficult situations in life. What got you into starting, this sort of work?
Mama. So, prima facie, I got married in this wonderful Morarka family, and we had this beautiful space in Hospet. It's a small town, and therefore you have a lot of time to yourself. And I've been blessed, and started off with simple yoga classes. My teacher was a Reiki master. I've always been a good student, enjoyed studying from day one. And when he spoke about Reiki during the classes, I got very interested, and that's how I jumped into it. Going deeper, if I look back, I need to thank my grandfather, who was himself a Shakti sadhak. And in my growing up years, I have spent a lot of time with him in Calcutta while he would do what he would do. So I guess subconsciously I picked it up from there. And when I was living in Hospet with my loving husband and family, I got the time, because you don't have so many things to do in a small town, even though you're working. And that's when I started my journey.
It's going to be wonderful if we get our listeners to know a little bit about Shakti Sadhak that you spoke about. Yeah. What does it mean? Which part of religion really does, of course, we know about Shakti being,
the feminine
Kali,
energy.
The feminine energy, yes. Ma Durga. And yes. I'm a Bengali myself, and we are big worshippers of, like Hinduism is divided into two parts, right? The Vaishnavites and the Shakti worshippers, right? The Shaivites.
Yes.
So maybe we could explain a little bit, to our listeners about this sort of
So
worship.
What you are talking about is basically the ritualistic form.
Yeah.
But I was initiated into the spiritual aspect, which is what my grandfather would do, which is he would do meditations and he would do mantra chantings, which I wouldn't understand at that point. He would go to various temples during his course of the day, and I would accompany him with him. So it was a very unspoken sort of initiation that I got. But what I saw him doing was in the middle of the night, while I would get up to study, I would peek into his room and I would see him, meditating. Or at 4 p.m, some people would come home and we would find out that they've come to visit my grandfather because he has the ability to see. So he was basically a clairvoyant, and he could go into dhyan, close his eyes, and solve things. You see, so that it wasn't very much spoken about while I was growing up in my home. But I picked all of this up. His energies were beautiful. He would wear this amazing mauve tika on his head. He would wear a mauve achkan, long coat, and he was 6 feet 2 inches tall and had a personality. And his lifestyle was very different. He wasn't working, but he was doing all of these various things during the day. So it was an unspoken initiation which I had. And I know that he had the Sri Yantra with him, and he would propitiate his version of the goddess in his way, which was not ritualistic, but it was more of a meditative nature.
So, you know what, coming back now to the modern times that we're talking about, I think, there's been such a return to our roots also,
Yes.
especially now with, after having faced a pandemic. I mean, many women have had relationships that have broken up, and,
Yes.
they've had this entire gaping, huge hole of emptiness. And everybody's trying to find their inner strength, when they go
Yes.
inside and they try and get into that inner energy.
Yes.
Maybe you could share a little bit more about how is it that they need to cope up if, they are faced with a situation. What is it that you can offer them, through your work? For so many of our listeners who I know that may be going through a breakup, maybe going through a divorce of many, many years, because we know now with the data, there have been many relationships that have come to an end,
Yes.
What would you tell them, and what is it that they need to do if they were to get in touch with you?
I believe I work on the epithet that you create your own reality. And if something happens in the outside, which in this case would be a breakup or some sort of a heart issue, we have all the energy and the prana within us to deal with that. Having said that, what we need to do in these times, which are so fast and crazy stuff happening every day, you're multimedia all around, and you have a social life, and you have a family life, and you have a party life, and then you have a home life. I mean, there's so much. We need to take time off, the me time that I call it, where you just get into yourself, into your room or into your sacred space, and spend time thinking about what's happening with you. So traditionally, I'm a big believer of the Vedic way of life, which is where these things would happen naturally to everyone. I'm not talking about anything religious here. I'm talking about a way of life where the Amavasya, which is today happens to be an Amavas, every 15 days, it was a time out for anybody living a normal life, where they would actually retreat, spend time with themselves, maybe ritualistic, maybe with nature, maybe singing songs, or maybe just being by themselves, where they would actually sit and analyze what's happening, what has happened in the past 15 days and beyond, what is that I need to do in the next 15 days and beyond. So basically, it's a lot of me time that you need to spend with. And everything you need lies within you. Therefore, to access that, you need to close your eyes and go within. So when a person comes to me, the first step that I do is something called the higher self initiation or the inner self, which we would all get very naturally when the Gurukul system, which was operative in our lands before the present education system, before that came into being. In those Gurukul systems, the first thing our gurus in the form of the rishis and munis would teach us to connect within ourselves, with the divine guru within us. And then you would go ahead and do your normal day-to-day, worldly activities. So when somebody comes to me, because I cannot claim to know what is best for you or she, the only person who knows what is best for a person is the person himself. And the only way you can access it is by going within and connecting to that higher self or the guru within on a daily basis. And then taking the guidance, the indications, the moving ahead from that guidance.
It's very important because when you speak about the Gurukul system, it's also about surrendering to your guru. Yeah.
Yes.
Varsha.
Yes.
So, how is it this that, in today's life where everybody is constantly questioning hierarchies and they're always questioning, this entire system around us, do you find it difficult to explain to youngsters if you've had any, and where they don't know how to surrender really to somebody who can teach them really? So, when you're also talking about the inner self, it's about surrendering to your inner self, right?
Yes. But it comes in phases, Mohua. It's
Yeah.
not that it happens overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me as well, because you need to spend that kind of time. You need to experience the decisions taken based on your inner self and the rewards you reap from those decisions, which sometimes can be quite opposite to what a normal person would take. So it's not an easy path when you follow your inner self or your heart or your
Oh,
inner
not at
guru.
all.
Yes, because a lot of things that we do will, the other person, your friends, your family, whoever else will say, okay, why are you doing this? Doesn't make sense, which may be true to them, but it's making sense to you. Therefore, the difficulty of surrendering doesn't happen overnight or at one shot. In most cases, it can happen. I've seen it happening in some cases where they just surrender overnight. But in most cases, it's a period of time. So you need to take that commitment in. And when you feel that little victories, that little, you make a decision based on the inner self, and then you go ahead in time and you look back and you say, oh my God, that really worked for me. Yes, it's true. At that point, I had A, B, and C choices. And the obvious choice was the A, but I went ahead with the C. And today I'm so glad I'm reaping all of this benefits, whichever way it could be, because of the C. So you need to experience it. So I wish there was another way of, sort of telling the listeners, yes, you don't need to surrender or anything like that. But true inner self work only comes with that. And it is a process.
Whether it's our listeners or not, I completely agree with you about this surrendering part, because unless you surrender to learning, you will never ever become the human being that you're supposed to be,
No,
right?
we are learners every single day.
Every single day.
Every
we're
single
learners.
day.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So coming back to energy, what is it about Reiki healing? If because we have listeners all across the world, and of course, I have a Reiki teacher, who heals me whenever
Wow.
I'm going through any difficulty. You know that I've reached out to you when my father was
Yes.
really really ill, and you've spoken about the moon energy and how it affects us as people.
Yes.
And I have also myself seen my grandmother who did the Ekadashi fasting, and she only ate fruits, and there were no cereals that was there in her diet.
Yes.
And over time, as I'm growing older, I'm beginning to realize that there's such a synergy between me and the environment around me.
Yes.
How would you tell women, maybe, if they were to go into a Reiki healer, what is it that they need to expect? What is Reiki? Who started it? Where did it come into being? And what is it all about?
So Reiki is a system of energy which understands an age-old tradition. I've done this course many, many years ago, I think in 2002, and I'm a Reiki master. So I won't be able to give you the factual details of who started it, or because it's really long back. But it's one of the forms of energy healing, one of the oldest, which believes or which understands the spiritual truth that you're not just the body. There are various bodies that you inhabit, and the wellness of a personality or the balance of a person in a day-to-day life means that you take care of all the other bodies, inclusive of your physical body. So we have a physical body, we have an etheric body, we have an emotional body, we have a mental body, and we have soul bodies. So when we're talking about Reiki as a system of healing, or any other system that we talk about, pranic healing, I've created my own form of healing called the Varaha white light healing, which I will be launching soon. Any form of healing, there are many, many on this planet right now, takes into account the invisible aspect of a human being, the aura of the human being. And then you use those symbols, or certain forms will use words, certain forms will use rituals to bring about a harmony in that particular body. It could be an emotional heartbreak, it could be mental stress, it could be a soul-related karmic issue, to bring about harmony, balance back into that body. So Reiki uses symbols which have which appeared into the master, the founder of Reiki. I think it was a Japanese master, but I'm not sure right now. He, in his meditations, received symbols and he started using it on himself and his students. And then over the period of time, realized that it makes a difference. That emotional heartbreak, it happened, but it's better now. I can deal with it. So when some crisis happens in one's aura, it could be somebody shouting at you for some work not done. It could be a relationship issue. It could be a death in the family. Any of these normal human, situations, there is a dent which happens in a normal person's life. So first we have to recognize that dent in the emotional body or the mental body or the soul body. And then, just like the physical body, if you get hurt, you put a Band-Aid or you go to a surgeon if it's a deeper cut. So we call ourselves, all of us, Reiki and pranic healing and white light healing and any form of healing that is happening in today's day and world. We call ourselves psychic surgeons because we deal with the psyche, which is as important as the physical. So when the psyche is hurt, then you need to heal it. And Reiki uses symbols, which are divine in nature, to bring about that balance in that break.
Wonderful, Varsha. But now tell me a little bit about the new thing that you are launching, which is your own, about the white light.
Yes, it's called the Varaha White Light Healing.
The Varaha White Light Healing. We need to know a little bit more because I'm sure there would be so many people who have had COVID deaths and people, like I said, have had heartbreaks.
Yes.
And they would need to reach out to somebody who they can trust and talk to and heal themselves, because so many closures we don't know how to address. So how is it that they can do this? Can they, if they are based out of Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, or anywhere else, can they reach out and do this with you?
Yes, absolutely. So they reach I was guided by my gurus over the period of years in my learnings, which I have learned. I've been learning since I was 1996 to create this form of healing, which is specific to all the learnings that I've done. So it started off with Reiki, pranic, NLP, deep healing, hypnotherapy. Then I got a number of initiations into various unicorn healing, angelic healings, dolphin healings. I mean, the list is just endless. So my Varaha form of healing, which would be my contribution to this planet, would equip a person who wishes to be a healer with all of these aspects. And for a person who wants the healing, it allows the person's aura, which is multidimensional, 360 degrees, to be looked after in various facets.
Why the name Varaha?
What happens in the spiritual scientific world is that when you go into deep meditations and you work with a particular master who could be in incarnation on the planet or who may exist in the ether, when you reach a particular level, so Varsha became Varaha.
Wonderful. So it is in with your name,
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
So I had worked with Master Sananda in my meditations back in 3 years training. And at the end of the training, I guess I did what I did. And the name just came. And that's the new, the spiritual name, if you can call it, the rebirthed name. Yeah. So it happens with everybody.
It would be very interesting also for you to tell a little bit about Nazar.
Yes.
So I think through centuries now, mothers have all the time ensured that when children get out of the house,
absolutely,
nazar nahi lagni chahiye. And for me, I find it very interesting also behind trucks, in India, you find buri nazar wale tera muh kala.
Absolutely. This nazar is a very, very a real phenomena which happens. And if you believe in nazar, you naturally believe in what I'm saying. Because nazar is not physical, right? And unless it's a very bura nazar and you really get hurt with it. So the nazar concept is, it sort of explains to you your aura. So with your physical body, you carry with your aura extends from 3 feet to 6 feet to 12 feet and beyond. Now the aura is made, it's like an energy ball that you're in. And the aura has various layers. And when you go out there in the world and somebody else has a thought which is not conducive, either the person is jealous of you or is, envious of what you are or how you are or what you have or how you look. And they, in their mind and their emotion, which you as a person will never know that she's thinking this or he's felt this about you. It could be lust, a deep lust. He thinks of the person or she thinks of the person and says something in her mind. Like, oh God, she's so lucky. I wish she wasn't that lucky. So we call these in a way spells, but they are dark spells because they do not help a person. In an ideal situation, you should be complimenting the person for the way she looks or the way she's behaved or, the success that she's achieved. However, this doesn't happen, the ideal situation. Yeah. And therefore, that thought, which comes from a space of darkness, if I may say so, is like an arrow. And if the person is not protected, if the aura of the person is not protected, it goes through and it strikes the person. And therefore, if the person is emotionally on a little weaker zone at that point, she could have a thought, oh God, I'm just so unlucky. While that's not the case at all. Or she could just, a pimple might break out, right? Or she could fall ill, or she could just feel low. But that's because of the nazar of a single person or a group of people. So, yeah,
so what should one do?
Well, all the grandma techniques of taking out the nazar is a very, very to-do thing to do. In fact, I do that with myself, my kids, my home, my family's businesses every Saturday. So that's a scientific technique, whether it is using the footwear. Every culture will have their own way of taking out the nazar. Those are proven methods. I have tried and tested them. The chili and the salt or the chappals are what I generally use. And putting a black tikka. So when you put a black tikka and somebody else's black nazar comes, the thought process comes, it is directed by your inner guru to the black spot and it dissipates. That's the science behind it. Without hurting the human, without affecting the bodies of the human. So my advice is do a nazar removal for yourself, for your home, for whatever part of the, you need to in a regular basis. They are all real.
They just change the entire aura around the...
They will remove it.
They will remove
When you
it.
take that salt and you put it around your aura, the way they do it, the salt has a capacity to absorb the negative energy.
So it could be any salt?
Well, I use pink salt, but any salt is fine.
So you take pink salt in your right hand in a fist and then you...
And you 7 times because we have 7 chakras.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's scientific. So 7 times you go around with an intention is what matters the most. So you say, I ask my nazar to be removed or the negativity to be removed, right? And then you take it around 7 times. To make it more potent, you can add red chilies to it. So
and then,
salt with
and
red
then
chilies.
You wash it off.
No, then you take that because that has collected your nazar. That has collected that energy. Therefore, you take it and you put it in the fire.
Okay.
The stove fire and make sure it burns.
So even the salt, if it's just the salt without the chilies.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
So then it dissipates that negative energy that you have collected. So yeah. Or you wear the black threads, or in all places of religious worship, you will find threads.
Yes.
Sometimes in local cultures, you will see certain gods and goddesses are known for nazar removal. For example, today being Amavasya, it's a very, very good day to remove the nazar in your house. So these were all age-old practices, Vedic in nature again, in our culture, which were prevalent. And people would do it without thinking. Thinking is just something happening. But it was created very thoughtfully, analytically, adhering to the rules of the universe, rules of energy, to remove things. So traditionally, every 15 days, Amavasya and Purnima Nazar is removed. So whatever you've collected over those 15 days for the family, in the family, the old lady of the family or the helpers would remove it.
So coming back to you, Varsha, okay, how do you keep your energy all together? Because there are so many people you're talking to, meeting. For example, you and me just met, and I have shared with you some stuff about myself, and we've been in touch over WhatsApp, and I've told you on days when my father was extremely unwell that Varsha, I need help, and strangely, you kind of connected with me during really bad days.
Yes,
it was strange the way your messages came to me, and we can call it the divine intervention.
That's what it was.
Yes. So just, I want to find out a little bit about what is it that you do as a person, because, you need to also protect yourself, because
completely,
as a therapist also, this is therapy, right?
Yes. Totally.
Yeah. So what do you do?
So I have a super solid routine, which helps me maintain my auric energy in a very high level, which includes food, sleep, exercise. It includes meditations, chanting, certain kinds of exercises. And of course, because I'm in the energy world and this is my zone, I have my psychic protection shields, which I put on every day, which prevents the nazars from coming to me. Yeah. So, these are the things.
And how do you deal with yourself when you're among a group of people? It's so interesting because, when I meet you, I can see that, your grandfather's left a huge impact on you, all right?
Yes,
as a person. And he's obviously being, you're carrying forward a certain
his legacy. Absolutely. Okay? You're right. Yeah.
My family goes back to Ma Anandamayima, from my father's side of the family. And so we have seen some very, science may not be able to explain, but
science does. Very soon you will get an explanation.
Yes.
Because everything of this, whether it's Shakti Sadhana or with any kind of methodology of healing, it's as scientific as the MBBS that you do, is what I keep on telling everybody. It's just that we don't know about it yet.
Oh, yeah. There are many things that none of us know about. And, we like to keep it really in a space of saying that, okay,
magic or,
magic.
But that's just ignorance.
Yes. So how do you, I'm sure because you need to go out, you do meet people and
So I put my grids on, I put my protection. In fact, I have created my own Tattvam Asi energy grid, which, it's a series of fires and lights and rings like the Sudarshan Chakra and, walls that I create around myself on a daily basis, around my loved ones, around the people who are a part of Tattvam Asi. So, you can do these protection psychic grids that you create. And it's a matter of practice. And once you start doing that, you will start feeling the change within yourself. So the biggest thing that I do when I'm working is the psychic protection grid, which every healer knows he or she has to do. And then, of course, a very perseverant, a very disciplined and a perseverant lifestyle. The food, the exercise, all of that.
When you say food, is it vegetarian food?
It's vegan. It's almost vegan. Basically, it's high energy food. Anything which gives you high energy. It could be the sun. So you have this community in Italy which lives, they don't eat. They eat off the sun. There is a community. Because the sun has the energy and the energy is prana. And that's, if you know, the plants, of course, they trap the sunlight and make the food. So that's really high level stuff. But yes, ultimately it is the sun. And then it's food. And then the kind of food that you eat, the timings of the food, knowing when you're upset, healing yourself when you're upset, learning new techniques every day, regularly day. So these are part of the way, I've grown.
And your children, are they also just like you or?
Yeah, so I have a daughter.
Yes.
She's beautiful. And a son. My daughter picks up everything from me, thankfully. What suits her, because she's not me and I'm not her. And her life path would definitely be different than mine. But yes, she follows me quite a bit. And my son is just 18. He's going through his zones. He knows if I tell mom something, she'll look into it energetically. But that's about it right now.
Are there any colors that you'd like to tell people that they need to wear between a Monday to a Saturday? Because,
Yeah, of course.
that would be really interesting because they can add that little color maybe in their hairband or in their clothes.
So scientifically, yes, absolutely. Scientifically proven. Sunday is color is the red one. So when you wear red, you harness the color of the environment. Like you said, you are at some point you said we are always in sync with the surroundings.
Yes, we are.
And yes, so Sunday is traditionally the color red. Mondays is white. Tuesdays, again, it's deeper red that you wear because, the energy of the Mars is more prevalent on the planet. Wednesdays is the color green. Thursdays is the color yellow, any shades of yellow. Fridays is pink or whites. Saturdays is dark blue and blacks. Yeah. And Sundays, like I said, was reds and colors of reds and oranges. So if you wear this, and many people in family and friends I know follow this, after a period of time, you will feel a certain sync to what is happening around you. It's called color therapy. It's been, it's now, you can learn it online or with a teacher. And it makes a lot of difference. Suppose you're blue, you're feeling really low or something not nice has happened. You can try experimenting. Wear a black or wear a red dynamic pink, and automatically your inner mood is going to lift up. Yeah? So yeah, this is the basic, but there's another science in color therapy which one can really go into and explore.
Wonderful, Varsha. Thank you so much for being here. It has been such a great learning, and I'm sure for all our listeners, they would be taking these points down for all the colors. I for sure will do. And thank you for being on today's episode. And we wish you all the best with your work. And if people were to get in touch with you, do you have an Instagram handle, a website, or a phone number that you'd like to share that they can contact you? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like to know how to get their healings going forward.
Yes. So we have a website, www.tattwamasi.in. We have an Insta presence, VARSHA_Morarka. You can contact me on that. The Tattwamasi Instagram is also there, but this would be better. A phone number, 9900223377.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Varsha.
Thank you, Mohua. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk ईमानदारी से.